Sup, bros. This is Terry. I'm a bull, and I have some feelings about a few things. About the Laurie Penny tweet that happened the other day. And this is going to be basically a letter to Laurie herself about why I cannot accept her apology on that. For you bros who don't know, I will read the tweet real quick and her apology. Okay. Her tweet that she put out on the 6th. Well, I won't give the time because that's relative to me. Men are trash is a phrase I adore because it implies waste. Toxic masculinity wastes so much human potential, but so much can be reclaimed if we're clever and committed. I hope we're on the cusp of a giant recycling program, #MeToo. And she follows that up with visions of jolly notebooks and translucent cups that say, I was once a date rapist, and I used to be a soul-sucking douche canoe. And I kind of responded to that today in a form of a picture that I drew. I'll probably put that up here. I might not. I'm going to try and make this as quick as possible. And then, after I posted that, I noticed that she had made an apology. And it goes as follows. Hey, thread. I've been thinking more about my I like the phrase men are trash. Wait. There was one other tweet that I responded to, and right now I'm facing a barrage of abuse, threats, anti-Semitism, fantasies about my death, disgusting things said about my family. It has rapidly become frightening. This is all because I said I like the phrase men are trash. It implies potential for change. And at the time, I responded directly to that, and I'm actually looking it up on my phone as I'm recording this. To her, I tweeted a lot today, more than I have for a while. But yeah, blah, 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 Black Panther, okay. I responded to the first tweet about the men are trash in a really sarcastic manner, so I'm not going to bother reading that, but I replied twice to her, right now I'm facing a barrage of abuse. Okay, first one. If you truly don't believe that men aren't misogynists, etc., as you say in another post, then why endorse a broad-stroke generalization at all? Wouldn't it be more useful to adopt something less inherently inflammatory? Inflammatory statements lead to knee-jerk reactions. And no, men are trash does not inherently imply the hope for change, and men are recyclable has just as many dehumanizing implications. Just stop. So, needless to say, I had some feelings that I needed to get out of my system, and I did in a creative way. And honestly, if you've seen the picture, it's not my best. It was probably done in about an hour total. And so, okay, now for the apology. I'm probably not going to fully edit this out just because I wanted to get it up as soon as possible. Okay. Found it. Okay. This is her apology. Hey, thread. I've been thinking more about my I like the phrase men are trash tweet last night, and I want to apologize. I meant it to be a hopeful and positive observation, but I phrased it in an insensitive and hurtful way. The tweet was shoddy and open to misreadings, and it is my job as a writer to be clear and incisive, especially at a time like this. I'm not apologizing because of the abuse I've received, but because of the number of good and kind men who've reached out. There's a great more to say about modern masculinity and how it wounds everyone, and how men are trying to reclaim their identity from an image of maleness grounded in sexual violence. I feel like I confused that message last night. I also think that it's worth asking how we can make it possible for men to stay in the room with women's anger. I'd like to know more about how that feels. I don't think it's every feminist's job to be concerned about how men feel, to want to know how men can be better, but I've made it part of my job and part of the work I'm doing, to listen to men in a way that tries to be about world-changing, not hand-holding. I also don't think it's morally wrong in every case to say things like men are trash. There are people who have good reason to feel that way, but I don't feel that way, and it was an unhelpful thing for me to say. And ultimately, it was just bad writing, so I apologize. Okay, And now I'm going to address the rest of this video to Laurie Penny herself. She said in a last tweet that didn't read, basically that she was going to be off Twitter for a while because of all the abuse, blah, 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 blah. If you want to actually talk, then email. So I'm probably going to actually email this to her, and starting off with what I'm about to say next. Okay. So, dear Laurie Penny, sup bro, my name is Terry. I'm a bull. You probably have never actually seen the few tweets that I've tried to aim at you. But here I am now, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on your apology and why I cannot accept it. And I'm going to start off by saying I understand that we come from two conflicting different worldviews. From what I've gathered, you believe that women are systematically oppressed by something that may or may not call a patriarchy. And you believe, and especially, and I'm basing this off of what I've seen from you and this apology thread itself, that masculinity is a social construct. I believe that there is both biology and social what have yous influence human behavior, and that there is in fact free will to decide to go with or against societal matters, which I think you at least agree on that last. We both agree on that last part, given that you are a feminist and believe that you are going against the social norms. So at least we have that common ground. But bro, I also understand that on Twitter it is very hard to put out complex thoughts in 280 characters. And that can often lead into misunderstandings, what have you. And first of all, I would like to say that your tweet was actually very well written. It was complete, concise, and you even clarified it with jolly images of notebooks and clear cups with labels on them of what men used to be. Because, men want to be totally labeled with what they used to be after they're reformed and not shed that identity, if that was what was actually going to happen. Yeah, no. I have plenty of bros who do 12-step programs and things to get rid of addictions, and the last thing that they want to wear on their shoulder and wear on their clothes in public is "I'm an X." Part of rehabilitation of anything is eventually shedding oneself of the previous identity, and how dare you imply that there would be people happy to say I had to permanently wear. Yeah, I'm reading. Okay, I admit I'm reading a bit too much into that metaphor, but it 100% clarified what you meant by that first tweet. I do understand that. I appreciate that you acknowledge that it was insensitive. I do. Thank you for acknowledging that. I very much appreciate that you realized in hindsight that it was insensitive and hurtful, and so I will give you credit for apologizing for that. But no, it was not open to too many misreadings, because when you call someone trash, it is dehumanizing. Trash has no will of its own. Trash has no volition. It can only be done, it can only do what someone else does to it or causes it to do. It cannot do anything on its own. Even recyclable trash has to go through a process that is imposed upon it. Even if it's so-called upcycled, say by taking a bottle of wine and making it into glasses, it has to be cut, it has to be rendered, plastic has to be melted down and purified, paper has to be shredded up, purified, bleached, so many other things. And yes, I am once again reading too much into your metaphor, but it's dehumanizing. And I probably don't need to illustrate this, but I'm going to anyway. Imagine that I was in your position and I put out a tweet similar to yours. I really like the phrase "women are shit" because that implies that they make so many different things grow and feed and nourish the entire world. How would you feel? I would never actually say such a thing. I'm only using it as an example, so please do not take it as if I'm actually saying that, because I don't believe women are shit. I don't. But bro, can you see I mean, manure is actually very useful. It is it can be used with compost and a bunch of other things to, fertilize plants that grow food that can feed the entire world. It's very useful and very helpful. But can you see how even using that as a metaphor can be super dehumanizing? No one wants that. And I understand that I probably didn't need to illustrate that, but I felt like I did, because honestly, I don't understand how you could have thought that was a good idea at all. It's seriously, I don't. And I know you think that there is some good reason for people to feel that way, and I understand that there are some women out there who have had really, really bad experiences with men. I understand that. And I'm not going to try and limit anyone's free speech by saying don't say things like that. But seriously, think about the implications when you do. And don't just say it flippantly. You admitted that you had no reason to say something like that. And I can understand a woman who has been raped, or a woman who has had horrible experiences with men, being able to say that. I would totally understand that. But you admit that you had no reason to. In fact, you want to help men, which is one of the reasons why I cannot accept your apology. Okay, next part. I am sorry, though, that you have gotten abuse and mean tweets. I didn't look through your tweets, really, but I can imagine what you've gotten, and I don't condone the mindless trolling or anything. I certainly wouldn't have done that, and I did make a sarcastic comment about it, but I'm not apologizing for that, because I'm not. The comment about half of your genetic makeup being male, but, coming from a man, I'm not apologizing for that, bro. Okay. And then you said there's a great deal more to say about modern masculinity and how it wounds everyone, and how men are trying to reclaim their identity from an image of maleness grounded in sexual violence. And what I have to say about that, bro, is from my perspective, feminism is the only ideology currently that is spreading the image of men as sexually violent. Feminism inflates rape statistics and misapplies them. The entire 1 in 4, 1 in 5 thing was based on a campus statistic that was very small, and with a very small response rate, and applied to everywhere, not just college campuses. So, and then it ignores domestic and sexual abuse to men by women, which is often ignored and laughed at if they go and seek help from it. And so it ignores the entire side and only does not look at it as a holistic problem, and only a problem that is driven by men. And so forgive me for not accepting your worldview and this, because you're the one making men out to be mostly inherently sexually violent, needing to be totally reformed. I fully acknowledge that there are men out there who are violent, who are sexually violent. There are rapists out there. But it is not just a male problem. There are women rapists out there. There are women who are sexually violent, and it goes under the radar because, well, police actually believe women more than men, and there's a good number of times men have tried to talk out about it, and they get laughed at. And then you say, I think it's worth asking how we can make it possible for men to stay in the room with women's anger, and you'd like to know how more that feels. I'm assuming you mean that metaphorically and not like a man having an angry spouse. And so, basically when if you really are interested in how I feel that anger is misapplied in many cases. There's lots of blatantly general statements applied to all men, like you yourself did, and that it's not being fair. I do not think a lot of the anger is justified. Some of it is. I know. I admit some of it is. I admit that there's a problem, a sexual abuse and sexual assault problem in humanity, but it is not unique to women. I'll say that again. I think it's really annoying to not be able to speak unless having to reveal deeply personal things to somehow earn the right to talk. Because I have so many bros who have to revisit, not much, just traumatic experiences and bring those up in order to have some sort of a voice in the matter, and that isn't right, in my opinion. And it makes me angry that my bros have had to tell me about that. And yeah, I'm going to move on. I'm glad that you actually do focus on men a little bit. But the entire world-changing, not hand-holding thing, well, thank you for being so big to not want to hold our hands, because most men, I can't say all, don't want that. To phrase it that way is patronizing, which, yeah, really patronizing, bro. I don't see how you thought that was a good idea. You do not have the moral high ground right now. This was uncalled for. I would be interested in talking to you about what your views on this would be. Maybe we could do a hangout sometime. I know you probably won't want to actually listen to all this, but maybe. I'm hoping that you do. I already addressed the morally wrong thing. I do appreciate that you did make some form of apology as far as this whole issue. I do. I do not accept that apology because, as I said, you are still demonizing men. You are not, and you are being patronizing. And while I want to believe that this is a genuine apology, and I'm going to treat it like a genuine apology, because I'm going to take this in good faith and choose to believe that it is a sincere apology. I cannot accept that apology because, like I said, it's super patronizing. And bro, I do not see how you ever thought that this was a good idea to say it in the first place. I genuinely do not understand how you got it in your head that calling men trash and saying, oh my gosh, we can recycle them, would be a good idea. I honestly don't say, I would never ever say that about any demographic as a whole. And you clarified in another tweet saying that no, you weren't talking about all men, but there's a problem with idioms like this, and they're broad, sweeping generalizations, and especially you admit that there's a very hot climate as far as gender issues right now. And yeah, I can understand. I've said things that I've regretted myself, and in heated emotions, I get it. I get that sometimes you say things you regret and you have to apologize. I get it. But bro, the way you wrote it and followed up with the little imagination thing, that sounded gleeful. You don't make mistakes like that when you're feeling happy. You don't make mistakes like that when you're feeling hopeful. You make mistakes like that when you're angry or sad or lashing out. And so, I'm sorry, but I don't accept your apology, Laurie. If you'd like to talk about this further, I'd be happy to. And I hope you don't block me about it. I hope we can actually talk about this in a civil manner and come to a better understanding of each other. We can do a hangout, or we can do email correspondence. You decide if you even say that, and I don't mean saying that if in a sarcastic, pessimistic way. I genuinely don't know if you'll actually read this or not. So I hope you do, and I hope if you want to, we can talk. So I hope you have a good day, and hope you can calm down from all this, and hope all the backlash does die down, because honestly, I wouldn't want to be in your position right now. Anyway, that's it for this, bros. I am. I know I said I was going to have the follow up to my last video. I'm going to get that done within the next 2 weeks. I promise. I am going to get it done. And then I'm going to start on one of my other projects. So, if you're new to my channel, check out my other videos. I'm also on Twitter, Gab, Minds, all sorts of other social medias. Follow me there if you want to talk. I love hearing from my bros. If you want to hit me up, ask me, suggest things to talk about and everything. And yeah, peace, love, Taurus.